Monsieur là en grand long, nous quand parler un peu comme ça et puis côté relation français et puis la Dominique aussi. It gives us great pleasure to welcome the godfather of Kadas Lipso and my stepfather. Good morning to you, Mr. Gordon Henderson.
Good morning, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, sir. Paolo Young Coffee said the prince is going to interview the king. But we are here live with the fight with kind compliments of DG Cell, and you can look at us live on the QFM Facebook page and also the YouTube channel. An hour isn't enough for us to speak, sir. King Wa. But how are you? How are things?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just very happy to discuss the matters that we plan to discuss with you because it makes me feel that we are in a Creole Heartbeat meeting, with the Saint Man and Jerry, Julie, and
Dublin. Yes.
so now being very transparent and everything
Yes,
is all
absolutely.
over the air. So I find that is a very great opportunity.
Absolutely. But you recently was recognized by SACEM, that's the French Copyrights Society. Tell us a little more about that.
Well, I have been what they call a sociétaire définitif of SACEM, the Copyright Society. They have 3 levels of membership that you get there through your earnings. So if you're just a member and your songs are not generating revenue, you just remain an adherent member. I have been fortunate to have become a sociétaire définitif, as they call it, which means that I have become a potential shareholder of the, we may call it a company, they call it a societe. And those of us who have reached that level and we are still there after 50 years, they had this ceremony, and I noticed that we were only 2 Caribbean people among about 30 of us that were honored. Now, the other one was one member of a group called the Gibson Brothers. They're from Martinique, but they had international hits. I don't know if you remember songs like Cuba, Get Down Right Now, and Salsa.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so one of the members was the other guy from the Caribbean, but I was very proud because I got there with indigenous music, with Creole music,
Yes.
and more precisely, Kadaslypso music.
Yes, yes.
So in a nutshell, that's it.
In terms of the barometer, Gordon, what is the criteria for reaching that level? Is it sales or is it plays?
Well, you know that copyright, SACEM collects right, they collect rights from radio stations around the world. I say around the world because in the copyright business, one will represent the other.
Yeah.
So the one from the OACS ECHO will collect on behalf of SACEM. SACEM will do the same thing as CAP and so on. So they collect rights from radio, television, nightclub, anywhere music is used commercially.
Yeah.
And so songwriters and composers, I cannot remember the exact amount that will make you qualify to become associated definitive. But what I know is I became one in 1999, and since they have lowered the threshold, So I don't know if it's because of inflation or whatever. So at the time that I got there, you have to generate more rights.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
So that's it.
Okay, so in terms of the Caribbean, including the French Caribbean, is yourself and the Gibson that was actually awarded at that special ceremony, I think about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Only two
What
of
does
us.
that mean? What does that mean for Kadas Slips of Music? Dominica's indigenous Kadas Slips of Music.
I don't know if it says much for Calypso music besides what I've been saying, that it is the foundation of Dominican music from an international and commercial standpoint. Because sometimes I feel a little awkward when I say that Calypso was manufactured and distributed in Jamaica, in Barbados, in Colombia, in Germany, in Japan. And the Exile One was the group really going to all these countries, not because that we were necessarily better. It's because that we were signed a business again with a major label, Barclay, and because of that, we played and in places on par with Kool and the Gang at the time. It was a top group. We were at Medem. We did all of these things in those days. So, as a matter of fact, when we were at Barclay, which is part of the Universal Group, Universal Record Company, or Communications Company, when we were with that company, I kind of missed my thought. What was your question again?
Basically, how important that
Yes,
particular
yes, yes, yes. When we were at Barclay, there were great French artists like Charles Aznavour, Jacques Brel, and these kinds of people. But for many years, probably for 2 or 3 years, we were the best sales, international sales at Barclay.
wow.
Unfortunately, we didn't have the internet in those days. And so when I say that today, it sounds like boasting or so sometimes I hate to really talk about it because it's hard to believe that that music from Dominica had that kind of status in Europe.
Well, it's important for us to understand that because this is history, and we have to be aware of our cultural history as a people, because we have an industry, and that's what we're coming to know. We have an industry, and as you look back with that particular level of experience, one over 50 years in the music, what are some of your observations of the music and entertainment industry in Dominica?
That's an interesting question, and I need your help on that.
Yeah.
Because since we decided that we will talk about um, the music industry in Dominica and probably the way forward, one of the things that baffles me is I really don't know what is the current situation of music activity. I kind of hold back on the word industry, um, but music activity in Dominica. So we need to analyze it properly. Music in Dominica today, music from Dominica in the region today, and music from Dominica on the global scale today. I cannot say very much because I keep hearing on the radio that the current genre, bouillon, is taking over the world. and I show a lot of interest and I look around. I am a sucker for the the internet. I look around and I don't quite understand. You see, I believe that every generation must do better than the former one in everything. In football, I know that you are a very fast athlete. Unfortunately, Usain Bolt came and broke your record. It's the same thing in music. Every new generation should, otherwise, the society is stagnant. Particularly when we are a developing nation, every generation must be faster, better than the previous one. So I would really like, and this is something that I think that Creole Heartbeat can organize, is a scientific view of music activity in Dominica today, regionally and globally.
Mhm.
Because I call myself now an expert witness.
Yeah.
I've had the chance to witness from all kinds of levels, from musician, producer, um, radio manager in many countries, TV producer, a number of, so I've witnessed that for almost 60 years. So I would really like to know, where are we today?
Now, Gordon, in terms of scientific, and you're referring to the what data are you really referring to that is needed or necessary for us to use as the as what we can grade the present state of the music, both not only in Dominica but regionally and nationally? Because we know prior to the internet, like you said, it was sales basically and plays on the various mediums. It is different now, especially with the internet. It's likes, it's number of likes and views when you have videos, that sort of thing. And based on the activity in Dominica, we have the major activities like Carnival, the Jazz and Creole, and also Independence. Likewise, the various village feasts. And we have been seeing quite a bit of activity those days with the village feasts. Several, like for instance, we just had the Fête Isidore and in Grand Bay and Saint-Sauveur area. I think we should be getting to St. Peter's next. And these are the activities taking place. But how would it be scientifically feasible to grade that nationally when we don't even have, let's say, airplays being recorded, and possibly our DJ can assist us? Do we record airplays locally? I don't think so. We basically go to the likes on on let's say social media and views. So how are we going to set up a criteria, a scientific criteria to gauge that?
To me, that is very simple. Um, the thing about likes and views, this is just being victim of current day technology if you are not in control of it. And probably a few may benefit. The way that we are supposed to collect data locally, regionally, globally, is we have to look at the revenue streams of the music industry. So, just off the top of my head, without working in any systematic way, I would say that we are supposed to earn money. Now, let's take locally.
Yeah.
And the criteria are the same for local, regional, and global.
Mhm.
So, what are the sectors of the industry that we're supposed to earn money?
Mhm.
One, from sound production.
Yeah.
Okay? So, what you spoke about, likes and that sort of thing, is we have to review how that sound production is distributed, because before we had to put it on a format, be it an LP, a CD, a USB, or whatever, and sell it. We have moved into streaming, and we have not controlled the streaming. That this is why we depend on how many people like it, and probably we might get jobs. So this is the second sector. Okay, so we spoke about production,
Mhm.
we spoke about distribution.
Mhm.
So we have to master production. To
Mhm.
produce, you don't need elaborate studios like before. We hear hits on the radio, sometimes they're made on a telephone. Yeah, but they sound good, and videos are made sometimes too.
Yeah.
But it depends on the skill of these people. So we have to control production.
Mhm.
We wouldn't have time to really go into details, but I'll try to go quickly. You know, we have to control the sector of production. We have to control the sector of distribution. Okay? Now, I can just tell you quickly that in as far as I am not sure if, can you still hear and see me?
Yes, I can still hear and see you
Okay, because
clearly.
my computer went off. So
Clearly, I can see
okay,
and I can hear and see you clearly.
okay. So we're talking of distribution.
Mhm.
Um,
Sector.
yeah, something that is happening right now to me, because I'm the owner of the Soul Tone label,
Mhm.
and there's a strange thing happening in music today, is the fastest rising format is vinyl. People are getting back to vinyl records.
Yes.
So since I have a considerable back catalog, a whole number of labels from all over the world are signing with me because they're releasing the back catalog
Yeah.
of Soultone. And Soultone also had other catalogs like Tabala and that sort of thing. So right now, this is a revenue area. And on the Soultone label, we've had Swinging Stars. I don't know if you know that, but we've had
Yes.
a large thing. So we have to look at distribution today, look at how it is done, the streaming, because streaming, you can earn money from streaming, but it's not a matter of throwing something on YouTube and you get a million likes. You might get $25 from that, because the streaming thing is, maybe the big guns might be getting something, but not everyone. So okay, third sector is the performance.
Yeah.
Now, traditionally in Dominica, we have concentrated more on the performance than anything. You were present when I spoke at length with Norman later, for my documentary film. And Norman later said that the swinging stars at some point used to be practically all over what I call the Caribbean world. They were all over the Caribbean, including Puerto Rico and up and down Canada. They started being the house band of Caribana and that sort of thing until that wives and girlfriends were getting fed up with the boys going flying all over the place. So the performance spot
Mhm.
is a revenue area that we have to manage and control. So it's easy to find the data. I am told that the Bouillon guys are flying out every day.
Almost every weekend, yes. Almost every
Yeah,
weekend.
to do things. So
Yes,
it's
almost
easy
every
to
weekend.
find out.
Most of them almost every weekend.
So the government must be very happy because when you earn money abroad and you're resident in Dominica, you pay taxes in Dominica.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not lighting any fire there. I'm just talking about a normal thing because that's how
Well,
eco-
at least you play that.
on your fee. Well, these are some of the things. We don't have time to get into the details of it. The performance part, okay?
Yeah.
So that is something. So we need booking agents.
Mm-hmm.
We need managers.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have a lot of young lawyers in Dominica. Some of them can do um, entertainment law even as a side thing. So we need to have that under control because I have listened to some of the brilliant artists involved in touring talking to you on Creole Heartbeat, and sometimes they might say that some may be cutting down prices to get jobs. So the level of revenue is sometimes in jeopardy because of lack of communication, management, and so on. So that is one area. Um, Another area that we need to make sure that we document is the merchandising side. Now, there was a time before the streaming, you make a record and you would want to have sell 1 million, and if you're lucky like Michael Jackson, you sell 11, 20, 30 million, and so on. When the streaming came about, some major artists would put it free. You get it the following day. But what they do is they capitalize on their popularity
For performance.
for performance one, bring up their fee, but also to create brands of clothing, shoes and all kinds of things. Even champagne. You know that Jay-Z has this famous brand of champagne that I don't recall the name, but
Yeah.
it's a golden bottle, and so on.
Yeah.
So the way of earning revenue has somewhat changed. You know that every Rihanna has her brand. I
Yeah.
think it is her real name. I forgot its name, and everybody. So it has
Something Knowles. I think Knowles, something Knowles or something.
I think Knowles is Jay Z's wife.
Oh, that is
Yeah,
Beyonce. Sorry, Beyonce, yeah.
yeah. Rihanna is her real name. It's her real name. I forgot.
Yeah.
Was mainly women product.
Yeah. But then what we have noticed, Gordon, in Dominica, that the majority of the artists in particular, their earnings come from performance.
Yeah. So this is why probably we need to focus on performance
Mm.
and straighten it out. But the last one I wanted to talk about is
Mm.
copyright.
Copyright, right?
Now, copyright is by far the most lucrative sector. And this is the sector, but I have spoken with practically every band from Dominica over the last 50 years to try to get them to become members of this, and not necessarily of SASEM, because the way that the system works is if your music is played more in SASEM territory, it is best to be a member of SASEM. If
Yeah.
your music is played in America, probably ASCAP
Mm.
and so on. But in the Caribbean, we have been very backward. I don't know if you remember, but you were present in Trinidad when we were at a meeting. Eddie Toulon, there's a guy called Sprang Alang
Yes, yes,
who is
yes.
dead now. Um, who I should say that in a more radio way, deceased, may soul rest in peace, and so on.
Yes.
Now, I remember telling them that they do not have anything to teach us because one day Sam wrote to me asking me if the song Sugar Boom Boom was mine. In Trinidad, I said I was tempted to say yes. And I remember Sprang along looking at me in a funny, strange way. I was joking, of course, but that only proves that we were ahead.
Yes, yes, yes.
I was a member of SASEM years before that, and Sugar Boom Boom was, to me, an international hit. I think it sold more than 100,000 in England and so on. And Kitchener wasn't a member. But so I think that we've listed most of the important sectors
Yeah.
that we can see how are they organized locally,
Mhm.
how are they organized regionally for us and globally.
Okay, so we have the song production, we have the distribution, the performance, the merchandising, and also the copyrights.
The most important and most lucrative.
But then, to be practical, most of our bands and artists more depend on the performance aspect.
Well, in
I,
that case, let's bring it up to standard. When I say bring it up to standard, let us get booking agents, either local booking agents or foreign booking agents, because sometimes we need to work with the gatekeepers of the markets that we want
Mhm,
to penetrate.
mhm.
Let us get associations like AMP and so on to set standards. You cannot just wake up and decide that you're an artist and jump on the bandwagon. I mean, we have to take the art seriously. It's either we are, it's like being a pilot or a doctor. You cannot just decide that you want to fly and you're going to fly, even if you can fly. So we need some standards. And while I'm saying that, I'm saying, and this is important for you, um, in your position as cultural ambassador, to see how you're going to work with culture, because we have a ministry of culture. We have Mr. Matthew, little man,
Wilson Matthew, yeah.
yeah,
Wilson Matthew, the Chief Cultural Officer, Director of
yeah,
Minister, yeah.
but he's in charge of culture.
Yeah.
But you have made your name and spent your money. I know that in cultural industry. And in Dominica, we have a tendency of confusing culture with cultural industry. So you have a lot of work to do with Mr. Matthew, with the Ministry of Culture, with the Ministry of Trade, because these performances that we are exporting, Dexia should be playing a prominent role,
Mhm.
because Dexia, I think the E in Dexia stands for export,
Export,
right?
export, yes.
Right, here we go.
But then, would to get some level of data, would the bands and artists have to declare first of all their itinerary and then their fees?
But that would be easy to do if you have booking agents.
Yeah.
And if an artist does not have a booking agent, at least the artist will know, because in Dominica, we're a small society, and some people may not want to declare their fees. But while people are very secretive, everybody knows, because I live all the way in France, and I know that many of the frequently touring groups from Dominica, their best payday is in Dominica at World Creole Music Festival, and this kind of thing is their best payday.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So, which means sometimes the frequent trips do not represent what people imagine, and it's not on par with some of the higher paid Caribbean artists. I'm talking like of the Marshall Montanos and so on. So
Mhm.
there seem to be like an A, B, and C.
Category
Yeah,
in terms of performance fee.
yeah. So all of these things we can do, because there are some of our artists that can be moved from C to B or B to A, because normally it should be based on how many patrons you can attract. Is your attractivity should be the main criterion
Mhm,
on basing your fee.
mhm.
But the way that we market, and we must speak about bouillon, because bouillon is the thing that we hear is taking over the world. The way that we market it, first of all, bouillon is what, like 30, 40 years? I don't know. Uh,
It is 88 89, so 88 89 should be about 35 or so, 54 45.
okay. Normally, there should be, well, it has changed, because I remember what WCK sounded like, what Triple K sounds or sounded like, and what's happening now. We, in all my research, I haven't seen, first of all, Bouillon was called Jump Up in Guadeloupe,
Yes,
which
that's
has
correct.
become a very important market
Mhm,
for Bouillon.
mhm.
So the name itself, so in marketing, if your name isn't clear, that is a problem. So Bouillon took a lot of time to establish the name, because there was no structure behind the whole thing. And then we noticed, I saw an article that the BET Awards, they've put a category for Bouillon,
Yeah.
and strangely, most of the nominees are from Guada Bouillon.
Yes.
So it's just as if we had decided that we were going to make pizza, and in the world of culinary arts, Italy would not be there for pizza, and we would.
Should that be a concern? I mean, Gordon, because I saw the nomination also of I can't remember the lady is a young artist name. I think three young ladies that were nominated, and I mean we know they are not the architects of the genre. We know they are
But
not the
you know,
main technocrats.
that's not how it works. Huh? I mean, it's not the matter of being the architect. We have seen Jamaica, for example. because reggae is one of the genres that left the Caribbean and went international. That is the best example. But they have been very protective in 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 the way that they're protecting their reggae. I remember getting an award alongside Maxi Priest, and he was in tears saying it's the first time that people from his community, meaning the Caribbean, because it was a Caribbean awards thing, gave him an award. Why? Because while he's reggae, while he's Jamaican, but he was born in England, still Pulse had a similar problem. There's a group, I think they were called Aswad, with some
Azwan, yes.
from
Azwan. Yeah.
Guyana, that kind of thing. So the Jamaican people themselves exercise various forms of protectionism.
Even UB40.
UB40, because clearly remember seeing the bass player at least would have been Jamaican, you know? So I don't know if we're doing enough to protect ownership of the genre. I don't know if we were doing enough. And as I was trying to say a while ago, the way that we market it, I have seen flyers here in France where local bouillon groups have been in the new form of festival that they have. They have, over the last 10 or 15 years, they have a form of festival which is not like the World Creole Music Festival, which is more conventional with bands and so on. They have artists after artists after artists, and the genres might switch. And I've seen bouillon artists from Dominica being announced as soca.
Yeah.
And when the artists come on stage, they might shout out bouillon and so on. So the whole marketing of the genre has to be reviewed. But as I said, if in committee, some people, you get accountants, you get a lawyer, you get various people and people involved in the business together, and you check, because every sector, despite the fact that the performance, which is the easiest thing, the easiest thing is when there is a demand, all you have to do is supply,
Yeah.
you know. But we need all the sectors to be organized. We really need all the sectors to be organized in order to take care of the performance part of it.
But then who is going to do that level of organization? Because that's one of the major hindrances. Everybody seems to be just doing their own thing and doing their own management, doing their own stuff. No records, no documentation is taking place, and we expect it to be done. How you suggest we're going to get that sort of structured level in the entertainment to take place?
Well, I think that there's a good start with AMP,
Mhm.
with the Association of Music Practitioners. Now, as I said, somehow the Department of Culture should team up with AMP and the Dexia, and probably, I would strongly suggest, with you in your new capacity,
Mm.
do a round table to put that thing in place. But because that will assist the artists themselves. because because we have discussed it, and we have faced a number of bottlenecks, like taking Dominican artists to Reunion Island. Reunion Island is quite a distance from Dominica, so which means airline tickets, you travel for 8 hours to Europe, another 11 to 12 hours to the Indian Ocean, cross all over Africa, and that sort of thing. In terms of cost, um, just yesterday, I had a discussion with the manager of the Midnight Groovers, and they're worried about going that far to perform for probably 30 minutes. And I was trying to explain to him that this is your first performance over there. 30 minutes might make the millions of people in the Indian Ocean see you, know that you exist. And already you're going there a little bit too late, because when your songs were rotating on a daily um, level, you didn't have the opportunity. Now you have the opportunity. So if you have the strength and the health to do it, do it.
Mhm.
Because tomorrow you might be doing your own stadium gig. And as I said, I am a witness. Very often I have performed with Exile One, without Exile One, in arenas by myself with no opening act. And there's nothing special about what I do. Midnight Groovers, they're very good at their craft, they can do it. And I figure that the bouillon guys can do it. Ra can do it. Everybody can do it.
In
But
terms of, I think we're getting a call, but then I want us to go, let's take the call and then I want us to go into standards. How are we going to set the standards? Let's see for Dexia. Like, I mean, Dexia is doing next if they have to take the data.
Hello, Lena.
Okay, hello, good morning. This is Creole Heartbeat, Gordon Anderson. We're speaking music in general and Dominica, the business of music. Hello, good
Hello.
morning. Hello. Okay, the person isn't ready.
Hey, this is
Yes,
Alyssa with Longhorn Products. How are you doing today?
not too bad. I'm okay. Do you want to make a contribution to the program?
We're reaching out for Lennox Linton. Is that you?
No, sorry, we have the wrong number. We seem to be getting Donald Trump there. But Gordon, very importantly, standards. I mean, let us suppose Dexia now has, I mean, Dexia now have an important role to play because you mentioned they coming into the mix. And in the whole export of the product itself. Then we'll be looking for standards. We'll be looking at standards. What then is going to be the criteria to decide on the standards?
this is why, if you're speaking specifically on the export of performances,
Yes.
we need booking agents.
Okay.
So either they're local, either they're international or regional. The booking agents will tell you, in order for you to become one of my clients, they will set the standards.
Okay.
We need your biography, a short one, a short time. We need videos of that kind of quality that for broadcast. We need your track record on this, that, and that. We want, they will set the standards right there.
Mm-mm. Because it's very, very, very often, I mean, it is so isolated and so everybody is doing their own thing. For instance, we know of our major musical, let's say the people that propel the music outside there, and the major ones in terms of the booyah music is basically, well, Asa Banton is doing his thing, Triple K, Signal Band, they have been out there. But then how are we going to gauge what they do out there? Because I heard the Prime Minister mention and they bringing in quite a bit of foreign exchange, which may be true, but then Should they declare what they earn out there?
They must. According
Okay.
to the laws of Dominica, you must. If they don't, it's because that's why I always hesitate to use the word industry. We are not yet set up as an industry. So you can reside in Dominica, earn outside, and just come in and say, well, I was serving the country like a soldier.
Yes.
But normally, when you live in Dominica and you earn, not only in music, you must pay taxes and revenue.
So you should
But that
declare.
shouldn't scare anyone. That shouldn't scare anyone.
Mhm, mhm. But then it is as part of the business. You should declare to the inland revenue
Yeah,
your earnings, and then pay taxes on your earnings.
yeah, like everybody else. Even
Then-
earnings in Dominica, not only when you go out, as a resident of Dominica or St. Lucia or Antigua or whatever, when you work, you pay taxes.
Mhm,
So I think in Dominica, only people in agriculture, unless if Dominica decides to give a boost to the entertainment sector, that the people in the entertainment sector will be exonerated.
mhm.
But as far as I remember, that is not the case.
You must declare earnings.
You must declare it if you
And
work in a
also
trading
pay
mine.
and also pay taxes on your earnings.
Yes,
Yeah.
except if you
Let's see,
are involved in agriculture in Dominica.
let's see if we can take a call there, because this may be something very ticklish. Good morning to you, Creole Habit. Gordon Henderson, we're speaking the music business in Dominica.
I've been listening, man. Good morning, Wadik.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to your guest, Mr. Gordon Henderson.
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Mr. Gordon Henderson, I would like to say to you, my brother, thank you for that program with Wadik. Wadik has taken the show in another direction in the last few months, and I love it. You're one of the greats of all time. You created, along with other brothers, Adam Flipson, put Dominic on the map. And now you're telling the young people the secret of progress and what you are telling the young people. Wadix have been putting it out. I, as a caller, have called Wadix show on different occasions and put it out. Content is very important. The knowing the business of the business is very important. You mentioned getting a lawyer, entertainment lawyer, particularly in the music business. That's important. And even down to the musician themselves must understand a certain degree of the music and not just learning how to play an instrument. Because if you deny yourself that knowledge, you rob yourself of income, you rob yourself of certain level of creativity because of the content that you put out there that would be appealing to so many millions versus a certain level of content don't go so far. Play a few days on the radio, weeks on the radio, and it dies. And most importantly, you mentioned copyright. Copyright, my brother, is a payday that keeps on coming. Is the gift that keeps on giving because once your work is copyright, doesn't matter where it plays in an English, French country, Dutch, wherever, you get paid for that. And I just want to say, Wadik, love the show. Mr. Henderson, thank you, my brother, for giving the knowledge because you're one of the greatest of all time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, caller. We seem to have quite a bit of work to do, and I really want to endorse that particular caller. But we seem to have quite a bit of work to do, and based on what you have just said, I understand your hesitation in terms of calling what we do have an industry without the necessary framework,
The
because
framework and the
we need to have everything in place so that we can be able to access the data.
yeah, but it's easy as I told you. If we have a round table with the right people, and we have the sectors, there must be young people at the state college that can be used to make surveys and so on and put things together. But there is something that you mentioned, and that's the talk that I hear about Bouillon is going places, and probably Bouillon is going places. But I notice that a lot of the performances and the gigs are in two categories. Either the artists leave Dominica to perform to Dominican communities in the four corners of the world. That is good. But you can also put that in local as well. Geographically, it's somewhere else. But the target market remains local. And then the next category is I've seen stuff going on cruise ships and in festivals, but it is very often under the soca banner.
Yeah, you calling the Uber Soca
Yeah,
cruise, the
and
Uber Soca
those kinds
cruise.
of things. So
Yeah. So is I mean when this thing happens, okay, for instance, Issa Bandan is normally one of the artists that qualifies for the Uber Soca cruise. Now, would they incorporate his type of music as a type of soca or an incorporation of bouillon within the soca cruise? Because it is not called a bouillon soca cruise, it's called a soca cruise, and you're actually bringing in some bouillon. But then is the genre getting credit as a Dominican genre or as bouillon itself under the soca banner?
if it does, it doesn't get enough.
Mm-hmm.
Even when our friend Dada did this important job on probably on many other songs, but on family in particular, I I I remember that there were little arguments in Dominica if it's soca, if it's bouillon. As far as I'm concerned, that was an opportunity to stamp the bouillon name,
Yes.
and so get bouillon. So there is another level.
Because interestingly, as you said that there, that particular song where Dada was actually the producer of this particular song was on lots of soca compilations. So I mean, people who don't know the difference would automatically believe it's a soca song.
Yeah, it, it's the same problem that the Cadence Lipso had. You remember Dennis Joseph told you in an interview
Mhm.
he was in Florida one day
Yeah,
and he heard on the radio somebody was saying Gramax or somebody from Guadeloupe,
yeah.
and he took a taxi and rushed to the radio station and so on. So, in fact, at that time, Dominica was not written on the record jackets. So the labels were from Guadeloupe or from Martinique and so on. And we had to struggle to make people recognize Dominica, which was not an independent country then.
Mhm,
That was pre-independence.
mhm, mhm.
Now we have been independent for 40 something years, and we're running into the same problem, but a labeling problem. We are producing wonderful music. It seems to be taking over the world, as I am told. But for the second time, for a different name. The first time it was called Jump Up, and this time it is confused. It is either soca or somebody must whisper that it is bouillon. So,
Let's take a caller, Gordon, there to see if we can get a different feel there from that particular caller who have been trying for the longest while. Good morning to you, Creole Habit.
Good morning.
Good morning. That sounds like the slime of the earth.
It is the slime of the earth. Good morning, God. This is Steinberg.
Good morning, doctor. But I'm in good company today. An ambassador on one end, a PhD on the other.
I mean, I wondered why the champagne bottle was golden, man.
What's up, my friend?
It is a very good and healthy discussion.
Yes.
I think Gordon has told us so many things. It's both music business, and almost justification for music education.
Yes.
Very, very brilliant. I saw emerging when reference was made to culture and cultural industry. I thought that was a very important thing that hopefully Mr. Matthew and others can open up a discourse.
Yeah.
Because it broadened up the definition of culture for us.
Yeah.
And I think Gordon has been pointing in that direction. The concept of culture needs to open up a bit in our space. I think he's very helpful to you, Alex, in your new position.
Yeah.
I tried to find you to congratulate you, but we never got back to each other. So press on with the work, but surely a whole new definition of culture emerging by the distinctions that Gordon has made. And this is very good stuff. The very important work that's been discussed here. And I hope from that, Wadix, I think you're grasping quite a bit through this interaction. So thank you very much, Gordon, and thanks to Alex for
yeah, man. Thank you very much, Stein. It's also a learning experience for me in terms of the business of music. And that's one of the areas I think we should really spend some more time in Dominica. Time is quickly running out, Gordon, but then I would really like to ask you in terms of, let's say, the role of the various mediums in terms of collecting the data. Let's say, like, for instance, let's take QFM. What would be the responsibility of QFM to collect the information, the data, to, let's say, certify who qualifies for whatever rights?
Well, you see, we're a little bit backward in Dominica in this respect. Now, I think people like Shelley, Michael Henderson,
Bob,
they're involved in Echo. We have a Copyright Act.
Yes.
So which means if it's the law, the radio stations have an obligation to declare every song that is broadcast. So there's a number of things that we don't do from habit, but if we are going to industrialize the thing, we have to start doing the right things. We have a law. There is a Broadcast Act. You cannot pay copyright to the owners of songs if you have no documentation, you have no log, and so on. So, and we also have a Broadcast Act. I'm not sure if we have a Broadcast Act.
I think we're still operating on the one for DBS.
Yeah. I think that we have a Dominica Broadcasting Corporation Act.
Because also, I mean, quite a bit of the various bars all over are playing, the supermarkets, because I know it's coming.
Mark Murray handles that.
Yes, but then how successful is Mark in actually, because I know he has
pretty good given the circumstances, because I would not be able to do that job.
I know.
Because people think that they call him all kinds of names. Even sometimes the artist that is working on their behalf, sometimes they call him names and say, but you're preventing from me, the people in the market, from playing my music and making me popular. And so but I know that he has been successful in taking a number of potential users of the music before the courts, and he has won.
Because very importantly, I just get that general feeling that the consumers, and even the people who actually use the property of the various owners are not too okuan with the same law, the copyright law. So people just do anything, do
And
whatever, and
that is what
it is seemingly it seems that in the world of popularity, the more the song can be played, is the more it get popular. Instead of your property earning revenue for you, so there is a kind of mix up in terms of the education aspect. But God knows we must go now
yeah,
because of time and the news
yeah.
major. The news major is scheduled next. But I want us to continue that discussion. I should be heading
We,
to the French Antilles and should be back very soon. But I want us to continue that conversation very soon.
we should do it because there are a few areas that we didn't touch and that are very, very important. Anyway,
God bless you, my friend, and take it easy. Tell him,
blessings
tell
as
him,
our good friend
tell him,
I always say, blessings.
Okay, this was another Creole Heartbeat program on the big station. We try to really give that education. What we'll also try to do is to get one of the legal experts here on copyrights to try and give us some information as to the law itself. Dissect the law, the copyright law for us, so we can better understand it. This is Prince Wadix. May God bless you until next week. Julie Robert should be in the building next week. May God bless you and may God bless Dominica. Pleasant weekend.
Wonders you done for us all, spreading the culture all over the world. For all the good thing that you done for God, that's why they